keep our media availabilities going. We're now joined by Jimmie Johnson, 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion, recently inducted to the NASCAR Hall of Fame, driver of the number 84 Legacy Motor Club Toyota. We'll go ahead and open it up to questions. Please raise your hand, and we will get a mic to you. Start with Greg, since he had his hand up first.
Hey, Jimmy, welcome.
Thank you.
Greg Engel, Forbes. The Extreme E entry that was announced this week, what was the motivation behind that? I mean, all of a sudden that was kind of like out of left field, and here you are fielding an Extreme E car.
Yeah, I think that anything we do as a company in any form of motorsports we compete in, I intend to trace it back to somehow, some way it benefits our Cup program. NASCAR is our core product, and I think there are many opportunities within Extreme E to reach a new fan base, to reach new partners. There's some new technology that's coming about in 2025 with those vehicles that happens to align very well with Toyota and their vision of sustainable sources of energy to race with in the future. So there's a lot of layers to it, and I think in 24 they have a smaller schedule. It's easy for us to get in and kind of get our feet wet and see, and then decide what we want to do in 25. But really excited for the opportunity. Had to lean on Travis Pastrana and Gray Ledbetter to jump in pretty late in the game, and Gray's there. Travis will be there soon. He had some obligations to wrap up, but I'm really excited to go get dirty again myself. It's been a long time since I've been either off the ground or upside down, and I think both things can happen in Extreme E.
How does the sponsorship work there? Is it pretty similar to NASCAR, and how is it to get partners on board to help with this effort?
It's a similar process, and I'm trying to understand that landscape a bit better. I can say that my time in the UK, the last 6 or 7 months, I am just impressed with the amount of fandom around all forms of motorsport and the corporations that are active in European racing, and then also the amount of interest in what's going on here in the States. So I'm definitely taking advantage of my time in the UK and trying to network and expand. And, time will tell if it really comes together, but car culture and the love of motorsport in England is just impressive. Yep.
Okay, we'll come up here to Mike, and we'll start making our way around.
Mike Embry, Auto Week. You're in the unique position of being a NASCAR Hall of Famer who can win a Cup race. Would that be something you'd want to check off? Obviously, you want to win, but that's nobody's ever even been in the spot to do that.
That's a good question. I didn't realize that. I truly am in this race car for the 9 races this year, and we'll see what comes about for next year, because I just want to race. And of course I want to win. Of course I want to add to the win list and the other aspects of the cool things I've been able to do in the sport. But that's not why I'm here. And that goes, again, with saying that when I put a helmet on, I want to win. That's the decision I make. That's just how I'm wired. But I have a few other reasons why I'm out there. And the purest of all is the fact that I just love driving and I love racing. So I'm excited to be here for those reasons.
Have you set those 9 races based more or less on the sponsorship that works with those places? And is it going to be 9 period, no more?
Yeah, 9 is the number. I was kind of around the 10 number, but for Toyota, for our company and kind of what we can do, 9 seems like a great number for this first year. And partnerships really did dictate that. I had an open race or 2 to pick, and I chose Dover and Las Vegas because I have so many other 1.5 mile tracks on the schedule, so threw those 2 in as well. Yep.
Okay, we'll go over here to Bruce.
Hey, Jimmy, good to see you again. Is this going to be the year where we really see more of your influence throughout the entire race team? I know that you were beginning to do that last year, had to step away for a little bit. But, I mean, is this really year 2 a very pivotal time in the success of Legacy?
I don't know. I mean, I physically, wasn't around a lot last year for obvious reasons, but I was still very heavily involved. And, when you look at the new partnerships and Toyota coming on board, I've been quite active on the revenue side or the carpet side of the business. I think we've made some great hires in our executive staff and our leadership group on the carpet side, and then certainly on the concrete side. You know, we're making some huge strides there. We've basically doubled in size just in a few short months. So, you know, there's a lot of growth, but, you know, my involvement's been pretty steady and consistent. It's been really impressive to watch everyone else work so hard. I mean, there really are a lot of men and women working countless hours to help us make a huge step forward this year. And I think, you know, this year, I hope that we do make a huge step forward and everybody can see it and it's noticeable. But I think after that, it becomes incremental, and it's going to be tough to really chip away at, you know, the people that are up top and the people that we want to race with and race with on a consistent basis.
Right, head over here to Lewis and then Dustin.
Louis Frank of Reuters. Now that you've lived in the UK for a while, how is driving from the right side of the car and roundabouts? I got a serious question after.
Roundabouts are tricky. I almost, it was 2 years ago now, the first time I went through a roundabout, I was in one of Dario Franchitti's expensive cars, and I looked the wrong way and about got cleaned out by a box truck. So that has me very aware as I enter roundabouts now. But recently in Charlotte, when I got home, I was driving on the wrong side of the road in my neighborhood, and the person coming the other way just stopped and sat on the horn. I was like, my bad. Sorry.
On a more serious note, what do you do to knock the rust off after, you know, being away? And what's it like? I don't know if you've had seat fittings. You know, what's it like sitting back in a stock car again?
Yeah, it's very little, just the way that things play out and work out for all teams. I've been in our simulator a little bit just to work on pit road and get those reps in place. Ran a couple single car laps, you know, around here, which really doesn't do much for you. But so I feel like I'm well prepared for qualifying and my shifting locations and kind of the technicalities of that. But then the duel is really that opportunity for me to knock the rust off. It's been since May since I've been in a cup car. I did do some vintage car racing, but much different animal than wheeling one of these cars around. Yep.
Come up front to Dustin, and then Kelly and Edgar.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Jimmy, you're one of the few drivers still remaining that was around for the Denny Hamlin's beginning of his career and been able to be there for the whole period. And I'm just curious, because of your perspective as a competitor and seeing him in throughout the years, and now as both team owners, what have you seen in the change of him through the years, and what has been consistent there that hasn't been that's always been Denny, and how you kind of seen him evolve and from when you raced him early in his career to this point?
Yeah, his commitment to his craft, he's had that from the early days. And when we were competitors, it was hard to really, granted we still are, but the Toyota family does offer a layer of kind of being on the same team. And I've spent more time chatting with him about his perspective on many things recently than I have in probably all the years that we truly were competitors on track. He was nice enough to give me a lift down here today, so we got to chat a bit more. But the competition aspect, you know, everybody's guarded and everybody's kind of in their own lane. But, you know, he was always very committed to growing his skill set. And I know that he studied my work at Martinsville for many years, and then next thing you know, he's the guy I had to beat at Martinsville. And I've watched him kind of evolve and always have that mindset to work and kind of hone his craft. And then spending time today talking to him about the ownership side and his new building opening up and their vision and where they're going and how involved he is, you know, I'm able to see more of that. And, you know, he's constantly evolving and trying to recreate himself as a driver or businessman.
I went back into the archives when you won the championship in 2010 in your press conference. One of the questions was asked about being in the vehicle, the truck, before the race with a championship contender. It was with Denny. And you said that day, you know, there were a lot of people booing you, and your comment to Denny was, well, you're probably not being used to being booed like this. It's not you, it's me. To see the role that he is willing to see the role he is willing to take now What do you think of that? And now how the boos are about him, and if you were in the truck with him, it would be about him, not you.
Yeah, I think that speaks to part of his evolution. Has his podcast. He's very opinionated and is very honest about his opinion. And then he certainly has been honest about where his motivation's coming from in those boos. And it's not easy to do. And I think when I watch, I see an authentic Denny responding in that way. It's not that he's just making it up and, yeah, it doesn't bother me, and he goes home and it really does bother him. I really think it is fuel for him. And I don't think the Denny Hamlin, that showed up in, I don't know, it was 05, 06, somewhere in there, just wasn't at that point. It's tough to be at that point that early in your career, but his evolution has led him to this place. Yep.
Come up front to Kelly.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Jimmie, you said it a minute ago, you just want to race. And over the last couple of years, you've gone and done IndyCar, you've done sports cars, you're now going to run 9 races this year, plus now here comes Extreme E. That desire, can you just touch on that a little bit of not wanting to do full-time Cup schedule, but that desire to drive and compete, it seems like still has not even wavered a little bit?
No, there's aspects of it. The grind of it certainly wears on me, and I think that's why I didn't extend to run IndyCar and sports car last year. I had an opportunity to do so, but the commitment it takes to run a full-time season in Indy Championship, I just knew I didn't have that amount in me that it took to run 17 IndyCar races and a handful of sports car races. But the desire to drive just and race and compete and to have the nerves in my stomach or butterflies and the focus that racing requires, like I truly long for it. There are aspects of it, and I think we all know, being on the road, like there are certainly parts of the job that you wish just weren't there, but to truly do the job, I love it. I've chased it my whole life, and it's hard to kind of put it in a context of a musician or something. It's like asking a guitarist or someone to put down their guitar at 48 or 45, or you look at even stick and ball pro sports, late 30s is probably, mid 30s is when most of them have to hang up the cleats. And, when you spend your lifetime doing your passion for a job and then you've got to put it away, it just doesn't seem realistic to me. And so that's the thing I keep chasing.
David Wilson said a couple weeks ago, Jimmie Johnson in a Toyota, the fans are going to, quote, go mental.
I've seen
You're
some of
going
that.
to roll off pit road tonight in a Toyota. What do you think this reception will be this year in these 9 races, you behind the wheel of a Toyota?
I mean, everybody has been so kind on Twitter that I'm just going to have a standing ovation out there.
Okay, let's come up to Edgar.
Yeah, Edgar Thompson, the Orlando Sentinel. Going back down history, Lane, a little bit. 20 years ago, what do you recall about that race, Dale Jr. winning, and what did that kind of mean to the sport at the time, you think?
So 20 years, so the year after Dale's?
2004.
2004, okay. So I was here.
You finished 5th, I was looking.
Oh, did I? Okay, that's when Stewart and I got into it coming to the finish then. I don't know. It was my first real trip to the transporter to meet Bill Jr. and Mike Helton. And Mike showed up with a VHS tape and put it in about an hour after the race had finished. And I had to stand in the hallway with Zipadelli and Stewart and Knaus and myself just glaring at each other. No one really wanted to say anything. So it was really uncomfortable. And that's what I honestly remember most about that. I'm glad Dale had a great time and was able to win. And, certainly here with what happened with his father, I recall the magnitude of the win. Was that the night race or the day race? Because I remember, didn't he come back and win the...
He won the night race in 01.
Yeah, that one I remember seeing on television, and just that one's the one that resonates the most to me in respect of Dale to his father. Just to see him win. I think Michael was second or something, right? Yeah. That was an emotional one, even for me sitting on the couch at home.
Thank you.
Go over here to Jacob.
Jacob Silman, Raceface Digital. Jimmie, I know there was a little bit of laughter as far as the Toyota reception, but in all seriousness, what has this transition process been like, and what do you feel like Legacy has gained from working with Toyota so far, David, the resources, what you guys have experienced over these couple of months?
Yeah, it's been overwhelming in the greatest of ways. The amount of data we have, the tools that are included with that. Some tools we need to design and create, and literally had to hire software coders to help us create the tools that we need, because this is a new system, a new software for us, and we have a lot of responsibilities on our side to receive all this information. But it's been a great journey, and it really is a partnership, and we're thankful that they believe in us. And we look forward to taking that big step forward that I mentioned earlier. And then we know it's going to get tougher as we go here, but it truly is a partnership, and we're very thankful for it.
You've won this race twice. Does that take any pressure off once you've won it coming back here, or does it add more pressure because you want to win it again?
For my 19 consecutive years, it made me want to win. It added more pressure to win it again. It's the only race that you can win that bestows a title to you. So it is the single largest race that we have, and the biggest resume builder. It might be the point that or the opportunity that gets you into the Hall of Fame. I mean, there's so much that hinges on the Daytona 500 for our sport.
Okay, let's go over here to Steven, and then we'll hit Jordan, and then Steve again.
Steven Stump, Frontchurch.com. Jimmie.
I don't know why I can't see you.
Oh, wait, what?
He's over there.
I'm right
That's why, because I'm looking over here. Sorry.
Okay, I'll start. Steven Stump, Frontchurch.com. Jimmie, there's 42 cars, six cars outside the charters, four will make it, two won't. How does, not having a guaranteed spot, at least, at the moment, change, your approach into the race?
This will be my third time going through it. My very first 500, I had to go through it. And Canals brought a killer car down here. We won the pole, which made life very easy. Last year was quite nerve-wracking to really, we assumed we didn't have pole speed. And then the whole guessing game of will we outrun the other non-chartered cars? And here we are again. So I do feel like I have less stress on me this year than last, but when I'm standing out on the front stretch watching cars go by and seeing lap times, I'm sure it'll ramp back up. But it's a serious moment. I mean, we really hope that we can put our best foot forward here today in qualifying, be one of the fastest two cars, and not have to worry about anything else.
Thank you.
Right over to Jordan and Jeff.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. Do you remember the first time you got called in the NASCAR hauler for something you did, or they wanted to talk to you about something on the track they didn't agree with?
The Daytona 500 I mentioned earlier was the one. That was it. It was the first time.
What was it like going in that hauler? Because at that time you had Mike Helton, that was very much a figure in that sport, and he's been intimidating, that kind of thing.
It was all of that, and they were in no rush to get down to us. And we asked, "Is everyone coming?" Tony and Zippy asked, and I think every time we asked, they added a few more minutes, and they just wanted us to sweat. So, and then when Mike came in and the group came in, there weren't any smiles. Mike was that intimidating figure, and it was very clear what their feelings were and what they thought about our actions on track.
What's it like going into the hauler when you're upset with them and kind of the roles reversed, if you will?
Man, you feel really angry and brave on the walk to the truck. And then when you break through the threshold of the back doors, for me at least, things always simmer down quite a bit. This is going way back. I walked, I think it was Michigan, and I had an idea for a rain-out scenario. There's something there that wasn't fair, and it didn't work out in our favor. And I walked in the back of the truck, and at this point I knew Mike Helton fairly well, so it was probably like my sophomore year. And I asked if Helton was inside, and like, yeah, he's up front. So I go inside and I go to the front, and the only one there is Bill Jr. And I was like, "Oh, sorry, sir, I was looking for Mike." He's like, "Well, if you can say it to Mike, you can say it to me." And I was like, "No, I'm good." He's like, "Sit down, tell me what you need." And so I sit down and I tell him my idea, and then he told me my idea was dumb and to get out of the truck. So I think it had something to do with this is my sandbox and something in that genre, and I left, and it took a long time before I went back in the truck. Long time.
Okay, go ahead, Jeff, and then we'll wrap up with Steven.
Jimmy, the Daytona 500 by the general public is viewed as the pinnacle, the top of the sport. But, in reality, it's a race that is not always in your control. So as a driver, how do you sort of contrast those two things? Like it's viewed as like this grand prize of the truest test, but some of the greatest drivers never even win it.
Yeah, it is tricky, as we all know. The thing that I see in recent years is just how important track position is. And that doesn't mean the big one won't happen and somebody that maybe wasn't at the front of the field or somebody that was being more cautious is setting themselves up for a good finish or a potential chance to win. That still can happen, but I feel more now than ever, people really are racing every lap. I didn't necessarily ride here, but I always would in Talladega, trying to protect championship points in the playoffs. And it wouldn't necessarily win me the race, but I could run top 5 and I could hold court with whoever I was racing against, or sometimes pull out on them because pull away from the points because they were caught up in a big one. And there's no one that can race that way anymore. It's just not possible. And in fact, the way this car drafts, the last car in the group has the most downforce on it and is the biggest threat of, one, it's obvious because they're going to fall off the back, but there's less aero benefit back there than ever before. And so everybody's afraid to be the last car in line. So it really does create a racing environment more than other years.
Okay, we'll finish over here with Steve.
Steven Toronto, CBS Sports. Jimmy, I guess I'll close out with another Toyota question. You were at GM for so long that is there anything about Toyota philosophically that has intrigued you since you started working with them? I know that they have the Toyota way, like core concepts like Kaizen, Genshi Genbutsu. Anything that David Wilson or anyone else has introduced you to that are that's a little different or distinct or intriguing compared to what you grew up in at GM?
Yeah, I'll touch on that. I'd have to start with the way we race today is much different than my last year in 2020. And the demand that's on the manufacturers today and how they really control data and the progression of technology is different. So all the years I was at Hendrick really led all of that. Of course, GM helped, but there was less of a technical demand on GM, and it was much more of a marketing relationship. Not all marketing, but Hendrick did the heavy lifting on the technology. It's so different now, and so it's tough for me to compare because now I'm with Toyota when the manufacturers are required to provide so much. So it's not a true apples to apples comparison. But the thing that really stands out to me now, spending time with Toyota like I have, is why they have the very specific car count and their laser focus on the teams that they have and how they can provide and their philosophy behind that. It really is amazing, and we are fortunate to be receiving and reaping the rewards of all of that. It's very tough to be in there, inside the family and the partnership, and we're there, and now I can see just how special that is now that we're in there.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Yep.
Jimmy, thanks for coming in, and good luck this week.